I am a 42-year-old Clara Mitchell, and I have one son. His father divorced me when he was just 10 years old, and since then, it has felt like it was just the two of us against the world. I've dedicated my life to raising him, pouring my heart and soul into making sure he felt loved and supported. In doing so, I've found it difficult to form any relationships with others. My focus has always been on my son, and I've put my own needs aside for far too long. One quiet evening, my son's best friend, Jake, came over for a sleepover. They had been friends for years, and I had always thought of Jake as a part of our family. He was a good kid, respectful, kind, and always full of energy. As I prepared dinner, I could hear their laughter echoing from the living room, a sound that warmed my heart. It reminded me of the joy that friendship brings, something I had missed in my own life. After dinner, my son eventually fell asleep, leaving Jake and me alone in the living room. We settled onto the couch, surrounded by the soft glow of the lamp, and began to talk. The conversation flowed easily, filled with laughter and shared memories. We reminisced about the times when my son was younger, the silly moments that made us all smile. As we spoke, I noticed the way Jake looked at me, his eyes reflecting admiration and a deeper connection that made my heart flutter. The atmosphere shifted as we leaned closer, the space between us shrinking. I could feel my heart racing, a mix of excitement and nervousness coursing through me. It was a moment of vulnerability, where the boundaries blurred, and I found myself drawn to him in a way I hadn't expected. I had always seen Jake as a young man, but tonight, he seemed different, more mature, more aware of the world around him. In that charged moment, I made a choice. I knew it was a risk, but the warmth of his presence was intoxicating. We shared a soft kiss, and it felt like a spark igniting a fire within me that I hadn't felt in years. It was tender and filled with unspoken emotions, a connection that transcended the moment. I could feel the weight of my responsibilities lifting, if only for a brief time. As I allowed myself to be present in this new experience, as we pulled away, reality washed over me like a gentle wave. I was crossing a line I never thought I would, and the weight of that choice settled heavily on my shoulders. Yet, in that moment, I also felt a sense of liberation. I realized that I had been so focused on my son and my responsibilities that I had forgotten what it felt like to connect with someone on a deeper level. We spent the rest of the night talking, sharing our hopes and dreams, and exploring the emotions that had surfaced. The intimacy of our conversation created a bond that felt both exhilarating and comforting. Jake opened up about his aspirations, his desire to pursue a career in art, and how he often felt pressure to conform to expectations. I shared my own struggles, the challenges of single motherhood, and the loneliness that sometimes crept in when I least expected it. As the hours passed, the world outside faded away, and it felt like it was just the two of us in our own little bubble. I found myself laughing more freely, feeling lighter than I had in years. Jake's presence was refreshing, and I could see the admiration in his eyes as he listened intently to my words. It was a reminder that I was still a woman with dreams and desires, not just a mother. At one point, Jake reached out and took my hand, his touch sending a shiver down my spine. "You're an amazing person," he said softly, his gaze steady. "I've always looked up to you." His words struck a chord within me, and I felt a warmth spread through my chest. It was a validation I hadn't realized I needed, a reminder that I was more than just a caretaker. As the night wore on, we found ourselves sharing more than just words. There was a palpable energy between us, a magnetic pull that drew us closer. I could feel the tension building, and it was both thrilling and terrifying. I had to remind myself of the boundaries, but the connection we were forging felt so genuine, so real. Eventually, we found ourselves wrapped in each other's arms, the world outside forgotten. It was a moment of pure intimacy, where we both felt safe and understood. I could feel Jake's heartbeat against mine, a steady rhythm that calmed my racing thoughts. In that embrace, I realized how much I had longed for this kind of connection, someone to share my thoughts, my fears, and my dreams with. As the dawn approached, the first light of morning began to filter through the curtains, casting a soft glow in the room. I knew that the night was coming to an end, and with it, the bubble we had created would soon burst. The thrill of our shared moments was overshadowed by the reality of what lay ahead. I had to navigate the implications of our actions, not just for myself but for my son and Jake. I gently pulled away from Jake, looking into his eyes, which were still filled with warmth and understanding. "We need to talk about this," I said, softly, my heart racing at the thought of what the future might hold. He nodded, his expression serious yet tender, as if he understood the weight of the moment. We spent the next few hours discussing what had happened, the feelings that had emerged, and the potential consequences. Jake expressed his admiration for me, not just as a mother, but as a person with her own dreams and desires. I shared my fears about crossing boundaries and how it might affect my relationship with my son. It was a delicate conversation, but it felt necessary. A way to honor the connection we had formed while also acknowledging the complexities of our situation. As we talked, I felt a sense of clarity wash over me. I realized that this experience, while unexpected, had awakened something within me, a desire to embrace life fully, to seek joy and connection beyond my role as a mother. I had spent so many years prioritizing my son's needs that I had neglected my own. This night had reminded me that I was still a woman with passions, dreams, and the capacity for love. Eventually, the sun rose higher in the sky, and the reality of the day began to settle in. I knew I had to face my son, to navigate the balance of being a mother, while also acknowledging the new dynamic that had emerged with Jake. It wouldn't be easy, but I felt a renewed sense of hope. Perhaps this was the beginning of something beautiful, a chance to embrace my own desires, while still being a devoted mother. As Jake prepared to leave, we shared one last lingering kiss, a promise of what could be. "No matter what happens, I want you to know that I care about you," he said, his voice sincere. I smiled, feeling a warmth spread through me. "I care about you too, Jake. This doesn't change that." After he left, I took a moment to gather my thoughts. I felt a mix of excitement and apprehension about the future. I knew I had to be honest with my son, to navigate this new chapter with care and love. It was a delicate balance, but I was determined to find a way to honor both my role as a mother and the new connection I had discovered with Jake. As I prepared breakfast, I reflected on the night's events. I felt a sense of empowerment, a realization that I could embrace my own needs while still being there for my son. Life was about connections, and I was ready to explore the possibilities that lay ahead. The journey wouldn't be without its challenges, but I was ready to face them with an open heart. In the end, that night of secrets had opened a door to a new beginning, one filled with hope, love, and the promise of deeper connections. I was ready to embrace whatever came next, knowing that I could be both a devoted mother and a woman deserving of love and happiness. What would you do if your world fell apart? How would you move forward? Let me know in the comments, and if this story resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more.